So what's the problem? So our content in brands are being at risk of being undermined by disclosure, by being disinformation, by being spoofed, by that fake news, everything in the impersonation. Have you had your brand taken and someone's put some false content and put your branding on it, pretended it's you? We have. So this original content is simply at risk of disappearing or being indistinguishable in a mass of generated material. How do you actually know where it comes from? And this threatens to be overwhelming at scale. We are seeing enough of it already happening. It has the potential, no, it is being harmful. We're already seeing some of that liar's dividend happen. What actually is true, what isn't true. And that whole world is becoming more and more of a problem. And it affects, in this year, particularly around global democracy, where 60% of the world, I think it's between 50 and 60% of the world's population are voting this year. And this is really a huge problem. So, what is the challenge that we are looking to address? So what we want to do is to build and support media companies. How can we work together to address this problem? How can we look at the question of how we communicate this world out to news advocates and to our audiences? Actually, it's identifying the problem, actually making sure we all know it. It's news, but it's bigger than news. Actually, it's all your assets, all your media, all your brands. It's what are the potential solutions? Do they fit around governance? Do they fit around detection? Do they fit around provenance? How does it fit in society and information literacy? It's technology, but it's more than technology. What's the role of open standards? How can newsrooms work together, both on technical standards and then actually in the more operational side? Both Claudia and I have the word standards in our job titles, but from very different, hers are from an editorial point of view, mine are from a technical point of view. But how do we bring those together? And what's the role of regulation? And all the different jurisdictions. EU's doing something, to the UK's doing something different, the US is looking at something different. Actually, what are the approaches there?
So while we need to find the technical tools and the interventions that we need to use to challenge this issue, we also need to figure out how all of these things might fit into the wider ecosystem. So, especially when you think about how quickly deepfake technology is evolving and changing, what are the things that we can do to keep up with that change of pace? So we want to work with thought leaders, we want to work with academic institutions to help us answer some of those questions. Judy raised some of them. Some of it's around things like what are the laws and the regulations that matter, how do the tools work or not work, depending on how those things work. How do we take all of these different media organizations with different workflows and different work processes and embed digital signaling and then translate that into a watermark? Is there a way of unifying all of those things? And then just, as another example, how quickly can we authenticate material? What's the turnaround time? And what are the implications for how long it takes for us to authenticate things, given that the speed of which this information can spread can be very damaging in the space of a couple of hours, frankly. Those are just some of the questions that we're trying to answer, but we need help from all of you to help us figure out what are the other questions that we need to answer.
So we're looking to partner with technology and solution providers to help us in this endeavor. As we mentioned earlier in the panel, it's sort of a three-pronged approach. We want to work with companies who can help establish authenticity at capture with techniques like digital signatures, watermarks, forensic watermarks. So we think the Erdettos and the Nagras of the world and those traditional content security vendors would be quite helpful to work with. Then also with the verification service providers who can register content and incorporate things like cryptographic hashing and blockchain. So we're interested in talking to companies like Hand and Alluvio and others. And then finally, the detection services like the Reality Defenders of the world. How can we then detect and improve the accuracy of detection of deepfakes? And then ultimately, we want to make sure that we're establishing a venue and a forum for collaboration and communication of these efforts for global news organizations around the world. So that's pretty much it. That's
Yeah,
our 5 minutes.
We
but-
ran out of time. And we are on table 10, so come and talk to us.